Hello and welcome to another Project Falcon Punch collaboration video. I am your host Dan, and today we're going to be taking a break from the 2020 top 5 lists, and instead we'll be discussing our most anticipated games of 2021. And by we, I mean the people we've already heard from this year, like PushDustIn, Yuriofwind, OrangeRakoon, and Alex, along with our yearly regular guests like Andrew Borman, Liam Robertson, Jakstalgia, and my friend Andy, as well as a couple of newcomers like Bertoli and my friend Jess. So with myself included, that's a total of 11 different people you'll be hearing from in this video. Yeah, I might have overdone it this year. As always, everyone's Twitter, Instagram and YouTube channels will be available in the description below in case you're not familiar with us all and you want to find out more, which I encourage you to do so. Anyway, enough of the intro. I hope everyone has a lovely year, stay safe, and there'll be more top 5 videos in the coming weeks. But for now, let's throw it over to OrangeRakoon as he gives us his most anticipated game of 2021. Scott, take it away.
So my most anticipated game, I think at the moment, is No More Heroes 3.
Oh, awesome. Okay. I don't know if we spoke about much about No More Heroes at all with me and you.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
The original No More Heroes I got on release on Wii and really enjoyed it. Really liked that game. I never played the sequel until this year when they, on Switch, released the HD versions of 1 and 2. So I replayed 1 and then I played 2 for the first time, which has set me up perfectly for being really excited for the third game.
Did you like the second one then?
Yeah, I did really like the second one. I think I prefer the first one overall, even though the second is probably the better game.
Yeah, combat-wise, yeah.
Yeah, the combat's much better. It cuts out a lot of the annoying stuff from the first game. Like, the first one had loads of optional, but you wanted to do them because they're in the game, like one-hit kill battles, which were just really annoying.
Oh, I hated them, yeah.
Yeah, so 2 plays better, cut out all of that, but it just wasn't quite as stylish as an experience. It still is really stylish, but I don't know, it just felt a little lacking compared to the first.
Like, the story as well just wasn't as interesting as the first one, I don't think, and it was a bit too, like, wacky. The first one was wacky, but kind of had grounded elements, whereas the second one was like, okay, now you're fighting a giant mech in, like, the middle of the fucking city. Like,
I mean, I absolutely love the mech fight, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. One of the funny things about the complaints about the first one was that the open world felt kind of barren and not needed. So what did they do in the sequel? They just took it out. And it's like, okay, well, you didn't really solve the issue. You just kind of deleted it.
And then I ended up weirdly missing it, even though I agreed it was barren and empty.
Yes, I totally agree. I remember, well, that was exactly my thoughts even back in 2010 when I played the second one the first time, yeah.
There was a funny, I guess it must be a deliberate joke. In the first game, you've got the free roam open world, and then when you go into a shop, you just navigate menus. And then in the second one, they got rid of the open world. You just navigate the open world via menus. But then when you go into a shop, you can free roam around it.
That was one thing I noticed as well. Like, even back then, I was like, wait, so what are they going to do in the third one then is the big question. They're going to have open world and in both the interiors and exteriors?
I think that's the most pressing question about the sequel. That's what we're all waiting to find out.
Yeah. I mean, did you play Travis Strikes Again?
I did. I actually quite enjoyed Travis Strikes Again, despite all its flaws. Its main flaws were that every world just went on too long. Like, they all had these fun gimmicks, but then you had to keep doing the same gimmick over and over again to get through them.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But definitely excited for the third game, and Travis Strikes Again sort of sets up the third game, so I'm glad I've played it, although I'm sure you won't need to have.
Yeah, I didn't actually finish Travis Strikes Again because I did actually get kind of bored with their gameplay, but yeah, I probably need to finish that before I play 3, at least just for my own, you know, I probably don't need to, but I want to just for my own sort of...
own satisfaction.
Yeah, my own satisfaction, exactly, yeah.
You know, there's not really that much that I really fucking care about. There's games that I want, but it's like, when are they coming out? You know, when is Bayonetta coming out? You know, nobody fucking knows. It is like trying to tap into the force, trying to figure out when that game is coming out. I think in games that are sort of relatively likely to come out this year would be No More Heroes 3.
Yeah.
That's probably like mine. That seems like a safe 2021 game.
Yeah, I think we even spoke about when that game was initially slated for 2020. We were both like, this is not coming out in 2020.
And they were just so quiet about it, and COVID, and yeah, it's not happening. And aside from that, I guess I'll play Gotham Knights.
Oh yeah.
Far Cry 6. I like Far Cry, so maybe that, but you know, there's nothing so far that I'm like crazy about, you know? Like, I'm sure Nintendo will announce, I don't know, like Star Fox Racing or whatever they're gonna do.
Hey.
And then we'll play that probably. But no, don't get them started, Dan. I'm sure there'll be good games and I'll play them, but there's nothing. I guess No More Heroes 3 is the one I'm most anticipating. What about you?
Bit like you, where it's like, okay, Bayonetta 3, can't wait, probably not out this year. Metro Prime 4, definitely not out this year, can't wait for that either. Breath of the Wild 2, can't wait for that, don't know much about it yet. My bold prediction, it is out this year, but I don't think in my heart of hearts it really is, and like you say, the fact that it's not even fully slated for this year, I can't put it as my most anticipated. Mine is also well, No More Heroes 3 is a close second, but for me, Resident Evil The Village, or Resident Evil 8, is my most anticipated of 2021. We're both like big Resident Evil fans. I loved Resident Evil 7. For me, that's my favourite Resi game now.
Yeah.
I've replayed that game like 3 times. I played it with friends, I played it on my own, and I played it in VR. And man, that game is so fucking good. It's got some problems and some other things I've maybe sort out and whatnot, but like considering this is going to be a sequel to that, in more ways than most Resident Evil games actually, because a lot of Resident Evil games sort of change characters and completely change location and settings, and they're very like disconnected from the previous game in a lot of ways. You know, there's an overarching like umbrella stuff, but like you think about Resident Evil 2 to 3 to 4 in terms of characters and setting and overall plot, they were very different. 8 is like a direct sequel to 7, so I really want to see where they go with that, what they do with Ethan and his girlfriend that you see seemingly get shot down by Chris Redfield in that trailer. So like, what the fuck's going on there?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've played 7 yet, but like...
No, I need to play it. I will play it soon.
Cool. But like, for me, it seems like you need to play 7 to really before you play 8. The only thing I'm slightly not sure on is because I loved 7 so much in VR, I don't know if it's going to come to PSVR, Resident Evil 8. 'Cause I don't even know, is it coming to PS4 and like last gen systems, or is it only next gen? I don't know.
I don't know. I assume so.
So yeah, I would imagine it's cross-generation, but if that's the case, then how bad the last generation is going to be, and also then how bad the PSVR version is going to look, even worse. So
yeah,
I'm just looking forward to that game anyway, because like I say, I love Resident Evil 7 so much. So yeah.
Well, Ethan Winters, there you are.
I think it's going to be the next in the Resident Evil series.
Nice.
I enjoy my horror games. I've enjoyed the remastered Resident Evils that have come out, and I enjoyed Resident Evil 7 a lot. That was good.
I agree. It was a fantastic game.
Yeah, it was very scary.
And obviously this is like a sequel to that more so than the remake ones.
Yes, exactly. I think it's going to be a good horror, hopefully, because I do like to be scared when I'm playing games.
Fair enough. I'm surprised that Resi 3 wasn't in your top 5.
Yeah, it nearly made it. It's good. It was good fun, but Resident Evil 3, it's one of those games where it's a little bit all in your face, especially at the end. Does that make sense?
A lot of explosions and shit smashing through walls.
It's like a big action extravaganza.
Yeah.
I prefer the slightly more subtle, scary moments, although even Resident Evil 7 did have its kind of in-your-face bits, but yeah.
Yeah, mainly towards the end. So where do you think this story's going to go? I don't know how much of Resi 8 you've actually seen.
Do not ask me that question, because I don't have a fucking clue.
Okay then. So are you trying to stay spoiler-free as possible then?
Yeah, and I always do try and stay as spoiler-free as possible.
So you don't know anything about the premise or anything?
No, very little.
Because the subtitle is called Resident Evil The Village, or Village.
Okay.
So obviously, not to spoil it too much for you, but it's going to not just be in one house. It's going to be like in a village. You've played Resi 4, right?
Yeah.
People comparing that game to Resi 4 in terms of like its setting.
Okay, sounds good.
Probably spoiling more than you actually wanted.
No. I'm not like so spoiler free that I won't even watch a trailer. I only read an article about it thus far. I'm worried it's going to be delayed, and I don't know. I think it's late this year. There was a horror film called The Village.
Horror in quotes.
Wasn't it M. Night Shyamalan?
Yes.
Yeah.
My most anticipated for 2021 is actually Breath of the Wild 2.
Very hopeful it comes out next year.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that it still will be released next year. At this point, Nintendo hasn't announced a release date or anything like that, but I feel like it's going to come out in 2021. I hope, at least.
I like your optimism. I hope so too.
Yeah.
Would you expect this would be? Obviously, it's a sequel to Breath of the Wild, but what are you hoping they're going to do to this?
I mean, I hope they don't use the Age of Calamity. I hope they kind of leave that in a separate universe.
Imagine that they split the timeline at the beginning of Age of Calamity to go towards Age of Calamity, and then with obviously the main one with Breath of the Wild, and then you imagine that this is a sequel to Breath of the Wild and probably separate from what the events of Age of Calamity.
Yeah, I think so, or at least I hope so, because like I don't know.
Do you think like mechanically is there anything you'd like them to change at all or add?
Like every Zelda game has like a unique gimmick, because if you kind of boil it down, what's it called, A Link Between Worlds, that was like the gimmick of traveling, going 2D and then becoming flat and becoming a painting, right? And then like Majora's Mask had the gimmick of the masks, and Wind Waker had the gimmick of the boat and the wind. I felt like Breath of the Wild's core gimmick was the wild, being immersed in the nature and stuff like that. So I feel like I know it's a numbered sequel, but like Link Between Worlds is technically a numbered sequel as well, and that's very, very different from Link to the Past.
Yeah, because in Japan, it literally is Japanese version number 2, right?
Yeah, that's right. I feel like even though it's going to be Breath of the Wild 2, I feel like they're going to have to introduce a new mechanic with it somehow. I don't know what it is yet. I think in that trailer, like you saw something with hand or an arm or something like that with Link.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, like all this like sort of weird light thing goes around his arm, right?
Yeah, and so I feel like that's probably going to be something involved with the gimmick, or I keep on saying gimmick, but I don't mean it in a negative way. That's the appeal. That's the new thing that excites people about the game.
There's a lot of theories going around that might be co-op, do you reckon, or some sort of multiplayer with Zelda. Do you think like Zelda be playable in any form?
I really want any co-op Zelda to come to the Switch, just because the Switch is so perfect. One of my favorite Zelda games of all time is Triforce Heroes. I feel like
really?
So underappreciated. You play that with 2 friends, and it's such a really good, positive experience. And I really want a 2D Zelda with just like the 2 Joy-Cons that you could use that and do local multiplayer like that. I don't know if Breath of the Wild will do that, just because it's still a 3D Zelda.
It would harm the frame rate essentially, wouldn't it? You think of like even with Age of Calamity, when you do multiplayer split screen on that, it damages the performance.
Yeah, it kind of damaged the performance, and I feel like the 3D Zelda is kind of more targeted towards the hardcore players more. And like I feel like if they're going to do multiplayer, it's probably going to be just with the 2D. They usually do a Zelda every year now, so if we don't get Breath of the Wild 2, we'll probably get a 2D Zelda this year.
Yeah, or some kind of re-release perhaps.
Yeah, it's the 35th anniversary this year.
Yeah, that's another good point. Yeah, so you imagine that they surely are aiming for this to be released for their 35th anniversary, a bit like how Skyward Sword was for the 25th.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Skyward Sword came out with that CD as well.
Yeah.
To be honest, with the lack of E3 this year, it was kind of hard to learn about what games were coming out, let alone what games were coming out the next year. I would say, because right now, since I'm not really sure something for all I know could be announced and released the same year just because of the weird circumstances that this year had. But if Breath of the Wild 2 does come out next year, and I think Nintendo should release it soon, because there was that free-to-play company that made Breath of the Wild, and then Ubisoft just made Breath of the Wild. So Nintendo really you need to make Breath of the Wild, because other companies are doing it. Jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, jump on the bandwagon that you created.
Exactly.
Yeah, so is there any like hopes for this new Zelda game for you?
Yeah, I hope that all my weapons don't break if I look at them funny. And also, I just hope the world feels less vacant. Right. I thought that was fine for Breath of the Wild, but for this one, I would like a little more life.
Yeah, a bit more dense.
Also, if animals could stop running away from me while I try and hunt them, because that always bumps me out. Like, I'm just trying to eat. What are you doing? Nothing.
What do you reckon the trailer was hinting at, like the bit with the sort of the weird mummified Ganon thing?
I'll be honest, I still haven't finished the first game. So I'm getting to it, but I keep seeing these things shining, and I gotta collect them. It's a problem I have. I might finish that before the second game comes out, though.
Now, I'm going to risk mentioning this because I have a fear it'll be like Metroid Prime 4 or Breath of the Wild 2 in terms of, it might come out this year, but it could get delayed a lot later. But you know what? They said it's a worldwide 2021 release, so I'm going to take the gamble. The most anticipated is Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Oh, okay. And I'm going to guess you're saying that because you're, as a massive Persona fan that you are, you want more, like, Atlas RPGs.
Because I'm a die-hard fan of the Persona series, saying that, I've only played a lot of Persona 4 and 5, but even then, that's enough to draw me into a die-hard fan. I've not played a single Shin Megami Tensei game, surprisingly enough. So, with 5 being years in development, we got a lot more about it in a partner showcase last year, and it looks incredibly good, like incredibly interesting, and it's a chance for me to get into the Shin Megami Tensei series after how much I adore Persona 4 and Persona 5. And Atlas usually delivers big time with their massive RPG projects, like with their blockbuster RPG games. I know Persona 5 Strikers is releasing this year, but that's very, very specific to Persona 5. But Shin Megami Tensei 5 is looking to be like one of those innovative, at least for me anyway, of those RPGs. Promising to have new concepts mixed with all elements and the same kind of Persona combat, but with the kind of story progression and elements that I'm looking for in an Atlas game. And I still need to play the other Shin Megami Tensei games, but 5 looks to be one of the most cracking games of 2021. So absolutely looking forward to it.
Nice.
My most anticipated game is the Nier. Let me get on my notes. Nier Replicant version 1.22474487. Oh god, the full title isn't even listed here. 87139. And I think it keeps going after that.
You can always trust Square to come up with a massive bullshit title, can't you?
I was originally like, oh, cool, a remake of the first Nier. But I recently picked up Nier Automata in 2020 again, and I've been playing through that, and I love that game. I love that game's story and its world, and just like, I love everything about it. They showed off a bit of this game for TGS, Tokyo Game Show, in 2020, and it looks really solid, and I'm super excited about it. Nice. I'm super excited to play more Nier. Nier is really, really good.
Because that was the one thing I hear about the first Nier, is that like it's kind of a bit janky, like especially going back to now on the PS3 or 360. It's cool to maybe get like a redo of that game, modernized sort of version.
Yeah, and this game is kind of interesting because I don't know if you know this, but originally in Japan you played as like this brother and sister kind of duo, or
yes.
you know, and then went to like a father and daughter kind of thing.
Strange.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know much about this game, so I might, you know, I just know it's another Nier game. It's the original Nier game, so I might be disappointed, but I'm gonna go in with high hopes, and yeah, from what I've seen, it looks good.
So is Square like they internally developing this then?
Yeah, that's one thing I was surprised about, is it doesn't seem like they're getting Platinum to help, so that kind of makes me a bit worried.
Like, so this is going to be basically probably the first Nier with it a bit more polish, but yeah, like from some internal team at Square.
Yeah, because one of the reasons why I like Automata so much is that Platinum gameplay.
Yeah.
And yeah, Nier Replicant has, you know, it has a bit of that, but can Square, you know, do that gameplay justice? But I guess we'll see.
You know, I'd have to say that it's a tie. In one of them, I don't know if you would count it, but the DLC for Cuphead,
yeah,
the Delicious Last Course, I think is definitely one that I've been looking to for a long time. I was a little wary of that game to begin with because I heard it's like super hard and, you know, frustrating. But once I finally got it and really got into it, I just loved it so much and went back and played it multiple times. So they've been kind of pushing back the DLC for, I think almost 2 years at this point, which is very similar to what happened with the actual Cuphead game, you know, back in 2014, 15, 16. So, you know, I know it's only going to be so many new levels, but I'm really excited to see what they do and what kind of new bosses there's going to be.
Like at first this just seemed like a, you know, small DLC for the game, but because that game's been out, it came out nearly 4 years ago? Was it 2017 that game came out, right?
I think, yeah.
But, you know, I know they're only a small team, so I'm sure that obviously is an issue, especially with COVID and whatnot, but this game has been delayed, or this DLC I should say has been delayed a few times, and I don't know if it's going to be like a standalone expansion thing as well, perhaps. I've no idea.
Yeah. Well, I think the original game is like 3 main islands, and I think this is just one extra island.
Gotcha.
But each island has multiple different bosses and like side levels and power-ups and stuff. So I'm excited to see what it all includes. And then my tie here, at least for a full game, is another one that's been delayed multiple times, and that's Psychonauts 2.
Oh, God, yeah. Another, I guess, also Xbox published or Microsoft published game now.
Yeah, which is kind of odd because I play mostly Nintendo games, but I love the original Psychonauts. Lots of personality, very goofy, and a really great 3D platformer. And, you know, I just feel like we don't get those much anymore. We got like, you know, Super Mario Odyssey and stuff like that, which is fantastic, but this is just, you know, the follow-up to a cult hit game that I'm very invested in, so I'm hoping that it can live up to my expectations, I should say.
I like the first Psychonauts as well. Kept away from any trailers of the second one, really. I just kind of just want to wait until that game's out. I don't know if you played the VR Rhombus of Ruin at all, but that was a pretty cool to jump back into that world again.
Oh, no, I haven't had a chance to do that, but I would love to.
It's fun.
My most anticipated game of 2021 in general would be just next-gen games, because I have an Xbox Series X sitting here, and I'm ready for that. But I'm looking forward to Halo Infinite. I was disappointed in the delay, but it's 100% understandable. I didn't think it looked as bad as people made it out to be, especially in the high-res, high bitrate video. Clearly, the original Xbox One hardware was holding it back. You know, I'm fortunate that I've met a lot of people that work at 343, met people that worked at Bungie. If they nail this, and I hope they do, I think it can be one of the best Halo games that we've seen. Could be one of the best games of the year. On the other hand, if they miss, look forward to what my most disappointing game of 2021 is, and it could very well be Halo Infinite.
Yeah, that's understandable. Are you a big Halo fan then? You played like the previous games, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I'm a big Xbox fan. I'm a big Halo fan because of how good the gameplay was. It's strange. No matter, I've I've replayed a few of them a couple of times now over the years because it's been out now 20 years. But I don't have a clue what's going on in the story. There's aliens, there's more aliens. Some invaded Earth, some invade the other aliens. Then there's old aliens. I have no idea what's going on with the story. But the gameplay felt so good, and that's something that Destiny did so well, obviously being actually Bungie that made that. I have no idea what's going on in Destiny either, but I go back to that once in a while because it feels so good to play. So I'm excited to see what they do when they take what were large worlds for the time, you know, of the original Halo, all the choices that you made, make that even bigger, make the choices more interesting. There's so much unknown about this game that, you know, I'm hesitating to fill in the blanks because I don't want to get into a Resident Evil 2 situation where there's this golden opportunity to do something great, and they never said that. That's just what I hope for. Even prior to the delays, and this isn't even through the people who are directly working on the game, just I know that they're taking the care to try to honor some of those past Halo games. They've reached out to various people from Bungie, you know, trying to figure out what is it that they were missing. So they were already doing that before, and now you see more people that worked on the original Halo games trying to finish this game and make it into what it could be. Will it make top 5 or will it hit disappointing? I just don't know.
No, fair enough.
So my most anticipated game, which again is probably a bit of a strange one, is Far Cry 6, because I haven't actually enjoyed the last few Far Cries, but I don't know if it's because it's got, I always forget the name, the main...
I'm going to butcher his name, but it's Giancarlo Esposito or something, whatever his name is.
All I know is there's Moff Gideon from The Mandalorian.
And from Breaking Bad, I'm sure.
See, I didn't really watch, I started watching Breaking Bad, but I could never really get into Breaking Bad, so I didn't even know he was in that, but I just know him as Moff Gideon, and he's actually a really cool villain, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to...
He's a good actor. He's probably typecast now because of Breaking Bad, like he's just now always that villain, and I assume he's the villain in this the whole time.
I would imagine, I mean, if he's not the villain, I'd be quite disappointed, I think.
No, you play as him for the whole game. You play as him.
Far Cry 5 wasn't too bad. I never actually played New Dawn, but Far Cry 3 set such big expectations.
Yeah. I feel like that since 3, the series has been coasting. It does some new things like Blood Dragon or Primal, but nothing really hits. Yeah. And then, like, I'll be honest, I didn't like 5 that much. It was whatever.
It started off really well, and then it kind of just fizzled out. And I was
it got very repetitive, that game. Like all Ubisoft games, really, but that one especially for me. But yes, I'm with you. Like Far Cry 6, we've not seen anything of it, like gameplay-wise, I don't think. At least as we record this.
No, and to be honest, I've got it free as well, so I can't really complain. I've got it free with my CPU, so...
Oh, nice. Because it was supposed to come out like February, but it's been delayed, right? It's like...
Yeah, another one of those games that's been hit by, I'm guessing, the COVID pandemic.
No, it does look cool, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that one as well, to be fair.
To be honest, I really struggled out to actually have a look and see what was coming out next year. I think it's because this year's been a bit dull, that next year's... I don't know, you can't find anything to look forward to for next year. I think you just don't even bother looking that far ahead because you're probably expecting games to be delayed again next year at some point anyway. So
yeah.